After a 6-year absence, 2009 saw the return of Star Trek to the big screen in a movie that, at the very least, had a lot of flair. A lot of it. So here are 5 facts about Star Trek 2009 that you probably didn't know. Directed by J.J. Abrams, he brought a more action-oriented Star Trek based on the original series characters, but in a different timeline thanks to a temporal incursion. Now, whilst this movie can split opinions, it's widely considered a good entry into the Star Trek franchise. Personally, for me, after a few years where I hid my Star Trek fandom, this was when I started embracing it again. And while this movie was very different to the ones that came before, there was a surprising voice cameo from Wil Wheaton and plenty of other references to tie it to the original series, as well as alternate castings and another Star Wars cameo. Let's get into it. One thing Star Trek 2009 is widely praised for is the casting, especially for its main cast. Zachary Quinto and Carl Urban's performances in particular are highlighted as especially good. There were a lot of what-ifs in regards to casting though. Chris Pratt was considered for Kirk, and Ricky Gervais was approached for Scotty, though thankfully none of them actually happened. One major casting that did not happen, though, was Matt Damon.
Matt Damon!
Now, initial rumors were that Abrams offered the role of James T. Kirk to Damon. However, this wasn't entirely true. In an interview in 2007 with IGN, Matt Damon brushed it all off as just internet rumors. However, later on, in another interview, Abrams admitted he had offered a Kirk role to Damon, specifically George Kirk, not James T. Abrams just wanted to bring in a big star to kill him off in the first 10 minutes of the film. In the end, little-known Australian actor Chris Hemsworth was cast in the role, doing a fantastic job in the short amount of screen time that he had. I wonder what he's up to these days. Star Trek 2009 was under a lot of pressure from the moment it was announced. The last movie, 2003's Nemesis, and the series Enterprise were seen as the death knell for the franchise. Therefore, there were high hopes that this movie would kick off another golden age of Trek. There were changes made to the look and the feel of the ships and the uniforms, even the way it was filmed, to differentiate it from what Star Trek was before. However, to maintain continuity and familiarity, there were some references, more on that later on, and there was a very hidden cameo from a Star Trek cult hero.
Do you want this to become violent?
Wil Wheaton, whose scenes were cut from Star Trek Nemesis, recorded dialogue for many of the Romulans on the ship. According to Wheaton, it was supposed to be a secret, a fun Easter egg. However, eventually, he announced it through his blog on November 4th, 2009. Now, in this blog, Wheaton does note that they digitally altered his voice for most of the lines he dubbed, except for one.
The ship! Check it out!
Sir, if you ignite the red matter...
I want Spock dead now!
While this Star Trek is clearly a reboot with a distinct look and a feel, there are, of course, many things throughout that tie it into the older series. Now, aside from the obvious, the recast legacy characters and Leonard Nimoy acting as a direct tie to the previous series, there are a number of little nods to other parts of the franchise. Main ones include the Tribble on Scotty's desk and the death of the red shirt on the mining platform. More obscure ones include Spock performing the Picard maneuver at Kirk's hearing at Starfleet Academy. Another one involves the Kobayashi Maru scene. During the scene, Kirk eats an apple, confident in the outcome of the test as he has cheated. Fans have long assumed that this was a deliberate callback to Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, where Kirk also talks about cheating the test while eating an apple. However, Abrams himself has claimed that this was entirely accidental and just that someone on set thought lead actors look cocky eating apples. After using Santa Barbara Studios for Insurrection and Digital Domain for Nemesis, Star Trek once again returned to ILM for the digital effects throughout this film. And just like they did in First Contact, with a certain Corellian YT-1300 light freighter, there is a little Star Wars cameo in this movie. As the Enterprise arrives at Vulcan into the wreckage of the fleet that had jumped before them, you can briefly see R2-D2 flying through space. Now, according to J.J. Abrams, he's been in all the movies I've directed. But the reason I did that is because in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which I saw when I was a kid, R2-D2 was in that movie. So, oddly, putting R2-D2 in these movies is really an homage to Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Now, considering that JJ went on to direct Force Awakens, does that mean The Force Awakens with R2-D2 is an homage to Star Trek, which is an homage to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which is an homage to Star Wars? As I mentioned earlier, there was a huge amount of pressure on this movie to succeed. Not only because it was an attempt to reboot and revive the Star Trek franchise, it was also the 11th Star Trek film, an odd-numbered one. And as we all know, the odd-numbered Star Trek films tend to be weaker.
No one interfere.
I have had enough of you!
Where's Spock?
I believe I found a faster way.
Now, that was technically broken with Nemesis, the 10th film. However, that didn't mean people weren't still aware of the odd-numbered movie curse. Now, luckily, the movie was a hit and well received by most, but one cast member really felt the results of that success. 10 years previously, Simon Pegg starred in the British TV show Spaced, where his character Tim joked,
"It's a fact. Sure as day follows night, sure as eggs is eggs, sure as every odd-numbered Star Trek movie is."
Getting cast as Scotty in this film meant Pegg had to admit that fate put me in the movie to show me I was talking out my ass. So there you have it. 5 facts about Star Trek 2009. Now tell me, where does this rank amongst other Star Trek films for you? Now personally, when it comes to the Kelvinverse, I think Beyond was better. But tell me a fact as well that you know that I missed. I do try and read and reply to every comment, so I look forward to seeing what you put there. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, the best way you can support this channel is A, check out all of the other 5 things here, or you can like this video, hit the subscribe button. I'm heading towards 2,000 subscribers, and I'd love to have you on board. Thanks for watching. Lead actors look cocky eating apples. Made a mess of that, didn't I?